One of the most common problems I see on the tennis court is following the ball too early with your eyes. Now, it is a natural instinct to want to look where your shot went, but if you do it too early, it will cause a lot of unnecessary errors. So usually what I see is players, they swing to the ball and then they turn and look before they even make contact with the ball, which usually results in framed shots. Now, the top players, on the other hand, they'll keep their eyes fixed on the contact point until long after the ball is gone, and that results in a clean hit. So let's take a look at that in super slow motion.
Now we're going to look at 3 of the best strokes that we've ever seen in the game of tennis, and we're going to start with the Roger Federer forehand. Let's take a close look at what happens around contact, how Roger keeps his head still and his eyes fixed at the contact point. Here, just a few frames before contact, we can clearly see how Roger is looking towards where he'll make contact with the ball. And now, as he swings through contact, his head remains still and his eyes are still fixed towards where the contact point was, as we can see right here. Now let's take a look at Novak Djokovic's two-handed backhand. Now Novak certainly hits one of the best two-handed backhands of all time. And once again, we want to take a very close look at what happens around contact. Here, just a few frames before contact, Novak's vision is already completely focused on where he will contact the ball. In the contact phase, his head remains still and his focus remains on the same spot. And here, just a few frames after contact, his head is still in the exact same position and has not moved an inch. Last but not least, let's take a look at Rafael Nadal's forehand. Now, Nadal's forehand is certainly also one of the best that the game has ever seen, and we will see the exact same thing happening here on his forehand. Once again, a few frames before contact, Nadal's vision is already focused towards where he will contact the ball. During the contact phase, he keeps his head still, and here once again, a few frames after contact, we can see that his vision remains towards where the contact point was. Now here in a second, we will see that Nadal does turn his head a little bit earlier than what we saw with Federer on the forehand and Djokovic on the backhand. Nevertheless, he starts turning his head after the ball is gone, so it doesn't really matter. For you, however, I recommend that you keep your head still even longer because that maximizes your chances of making clean contact with the ball.
Okay, so now let's talk about how you can fix this problem. Now, the fix is actually quite simple, but getting it right consistently is usually quite difficult for most players because the urge to follow the ball with your eyes is quite strong, and it takes a lot of good repetitions to reprogram your brain in the correct manner. Now, the way I want you to practice is to, as usual, start with some shadow swings. And what I want you to focus on is I want you to focus on shadow swinging and keeping your eyes at the hit where you made contact. So you keep your head still, and even after the ball is gone, you're still looking in that direction. So in the beginning, you're not really going to see where that ball goes. You can train yourself to glance from the corner of your eyes to see where the ball goes, but that's not important in the beginning. So keep your head still and keep your eyes focused on where you contacted the ball until the ball is long gone. Let me demonstrate that with a shadow swing. Just like this. Keep my head in position and don't follow the ball with the eyes. And you shadow swing and practice that over and over until it feels somewhat natural. And now in the next step, I'm going to hit a couple of shots. And again. And one more. So as you can see, I keep my head still, I keep my vision towards where I contacted the ball, and I do manage to kind of see where the ball goes, definitely enough to what I need, but that's something that you'll pick up later once you've practiced this. But the important part is if you practice this over and over, I'm certain that you'll hit cleaner shots.